Hey, gorgeous people. Welcome to Friday. I hope you had a great week, or you've had a great week, and heading obviously into Friday. And it will be super a beautiful weekend, hopefully for you all as well. Sorry, I'm just getting notifications coming up, and that's distracting me already. So today, really excited, definitely to chat more about when we feel stuck in life as well. Hey Nancy, great to have you on as always, honey. I'm just gonna get rid of that. Hey Chris, great to have you on too. We've got lots of people jumping on. Hey Jen, lovely to see you. Say hi if you're jumping on. It'd be lovely to obviously interact with you guys as well. So one of the main things that really can keep us stuck and how to actually overcome that is judgment. And I think judgment can be one of those things that really keeps us in, I guess, a very stuck pattern, so to speak. Hey Christy, great to have you on. All my technical terms, but definitely, like, it's that judgment, and the judgment comes from our ego mind. It's judging us whether we're good, whether we're bad, whether we're right, whether we're wrong, and tends to be very black and white in the thinking as well. Hey Anna, great to have you on. So hey Fee, great to have you on too, sweetie. And lots of awesome amazing people hopping on. So definitely with judgment, it is one of those things that really is fear-based. It comes from the ego mind, and the ego mind is here to protect us. So it makes us like it's constantly trying to seek out, trying to figure out what's going to hurt us and what's going to keep us safe. And so we're constantly looking to the world for feedback around that as well. And so part of that becomes our own inner judgment on how we need to be, or how other people need to be, based on what other people have actually said to us as well. And so that's really quite tricky as well. Hey Sandra, great to have you on, hun. And so judgment is one of those things, like I said, it becomes very black and white. It's good, it's bad, it's this, it's that. And as we're actually doing that, we become the victim on the other side of it. So anytime that we are judging either ourselves or judging others, thinking something's bad or that this shouldn't be happening, or any of those things, then we become a victim of our circumstance, and it doesn't actually empower us to make the changes that we actually need to when we're actually wanting to move forward as well. And it's you may have experienced this with your inner critic. If you feel like you're failing or feel like you're not doing enough, that's coming from a place of judgment. And one of my biggest things that's really helped change things for me is just to bring in the energy of curiousness. And it's like, I'm curious, why am I actually doing this? Instead of judging ourselves or saying, I shouldn't be doing this. Hey Lisa, great to have you on, hon. Why I shouldn't be doing this, I should have changed things, or I should be different than what I am, or I should have lost weight, or I should be more efficient, or I should be more productive, or all of those things are coming from past programming around who we believe that we need to be in order to be enough, in order to be loved. And it's all coming from that survival mind and that judgment as well. So the more that we can really step into, as I said before, the energy of curiousness, and it's kind of like, I wonder why I'm actually doing that, or I wonder how I might be able to step beyond that, and just start to become a little bit more lighthearted about it. Hey Bridgie, great to have you on, sweetie. It really does make such a huge difference as well. Judgment is one of those things. So the judge and the victim are two sides of the same coin, and it really, like I said before, it really can make us either the good person or the bad person, the right person or the wrong person. So it's this win-lose kind of mentality. And particularly if we're projecting our judgments onto other people, honestly, in my experience, and I could be wrong here, but in my experience, hey Sandra, great to have you on too, darling. It really does come back to we're projecting our own rules onto other people. And, let's be honest, we obviously don't like when other people do that to us. And it's kind of like, hey dude, that's kind of your rule, that's not necessarily my rule. So whether it's, I shouldn't be late, or they shouldn't be late, or any of those things. And that's not to say that I think where we can kind of get a little bit stuck here around this, it's like, well, it's morals and it's high ground, and it's, that's just like what people need to be. And it's like, no, it really is our own rules and our own judgments. Our truest version of ourselves really comes back to just like expressing love and doing things. It doesn't need to force, it doesn't need to need to be, it doesn't have to be, it's not obligated to be a particular way. That's the difference between the ego survival mind and the judgment. Hey Robin, great to have you on. Hey Christy. It really is the difference between the ego mind and the judgment and the fear, as opposed to discernment of, this is a really good fit for me, this feels aligned, this feels right, this feels congruent, and let me step into this space, as opposed to judging something or making it right, wrong, good, bad. And the judgment really does come from a place of fear, and like I said before, it's that stepping into, when we judge something, and particularly when we're judging ourselves. I think, speaking about that more specifically, that's where we become a victim of ourselves as well, and it really does keep us stuck, because it's like, well, I shouldn't be doing this, and if you're doing it, you're doing it, and making yourself bad or making yourself wrong by that, with that judgment, will only serve to keep you stuck, because then it makes you feel bad about yourself, it impacts your self-worth, it impacts your self-belief, and then it's like we feel like a failure, and we go, oh, that's so fascinating, Robin, too. I love that. Hey Jason, great to have you on. So, when we're in that judgment phase, there's just so much that can kind of come up as well around that, and it really doesn't serve us to sit there and judge us and make us bad or wrong, thinking that we're going to finally beat ourselves into shape or finally be, harsh enough on ourselves. It's never worked with our kids. It's never worked with other people. So why would we think that it would work with us? And a lot of it, I know, is subconscious. I know it is for me. Hey Tiff, great to have you on. Hey Anne. And it really, it doesn't serve any purpose other than to make us feel like rubbish. And one of the best books I actually read was, it was called Shame and Codependency. But it really describes like a lot of what actually happens when we're born, and then so we've got our real authentic self, and so we're just this naturally effervescent child that's like exploring the world and is curious and everything else, and we're like massive sponges from 0 to 7, taking in the world around us and feeling all of those things, and thinking, oh, well, we're trying to figure out who it is or how we need to be in the world in order to stay safe. That's our ego mind's job. It's trying to protect us. So we're taking on all of the beliefs of all of our adults. And so if they're stressed and we're running through the kitchen all happy as Larry, mum and dad are like, would you be quiet, or would you get out of here? Or then it's like, oh my goodness, and we pull back and we try, and then we're starting to get this feedback. And so then we create this devalued self that feels bad about itself, that feels wrong or feels unworthy. And then in order to deal with that, then the inner critic is born, where it's like, well, you shouldn't have been so loud, or you shouldn't have done this particular thing. And this is where that judge is formed, is really around that inner critic as well. Thank you, Bridgie. It is a gorgeous morning as well. So that's when that inner judge is really formed, and in that moment, so we've got like the devalued self, which is the victim, and then we've got that inner critic, so the inner critic is trying to make you better, so finally you can be loved without actually it's Shame and Codependency, Tiff. I might post it in the bottom. I can't remember the name of the author, but it was such a great diagram, and it really helped me to understand. I'd seen lots of different other models that were very similar to that, but for me, it really, really resonated. Hey Ken, great to have you on. Yeah, thanks Fee for putting that in there, darling. So definitely with this inner critic that's then formed, so then it, in order to deal with the devalued self, then it's trying to make this ideal self. And this is when we start to put all those layers and masks on. Well, I just need to be smarter, or I just need to be quieter, or I don't need to, I shouldn't stand out, or I shouldn't shine, or I shouldn't do like all these things, which is all these shoulds, all these have tos, all these need tos. That's all judgment, and it all comes from that inner critic trying to finally protect the devalued self. But in doing so, it does it in a really counterintuitive way. So it's like literally, like I'm sure you guys would have had the same as me, that negative Nelly voice in your head that can be really harsh and really critical, like way more than what anybody else would have ever said to us, and yet we get so offended or we get so upset when somebody else is having a bad day and project some of their stuff onto us. So we I think becoming our own best friend is one of the greatest gifts that we can actually give to ourselves, and having the level of discernment, that level of consciousness, because a lot of this for me initially was very unconscious. I didn't realize how mean I was being to myself in my own head unconsciously, so I just felt like rubbish. So your feelings, if you're not I guess used to tapping into your thoughts and thinking, oh, what am I actually thinking at the moment, and this will make a huge difference as well for you, because when you're feeling like rubbish, there's definitely an accompanying thought that's created that particular feeling as well. So obviously, you know, how we feel physically definitely impacts our feelings and our emotions, but also the events in our life. And one of the things I wrote a blog post about it the other day, and I'm literally writing a blog post about this today as well, because I just think it's so important. And it really, like I said, it keeps us stuck in that looping of, I'm not good enough, I'm not enough, I'll never be what I need to be, or I'm not thin enough, or I'm not pretty enough. And it's exhausting being in that cycle, because the whole time we're doing that, we're just beating ourselves lower and lower and lower, and we're really like abusing ourselves in that moment as well. And it's not, you know, the ego mind's doing it, trying to finally be enough. But in my experience, no amount of doing or no amount of improving or anything on that level of the ego mind will ever make me feel like I'm enough, because it's fear-based and it comes from the polarity so that we can experience. So it's like the hot and the cold. So with the ego mind, it is the polarity, it is the fear, so that we can fully experience what love is as well. Without the fear, if we were fully immersed in this beautiful bubble of love and just pure amazingness all of the time, then we wouldn't have the differences to know what love actually fully is. So with the polarity, it allows us to fully experience. It's just like hot and cold. We couldn't know what cold is without hot, etc., etc. So we have that polarity. But when you believe the ego mind, so it's a great tool. It helps us think logically. It helps us come up with strategies and different things. But when you believe the ego mind and the survival mind above and beyond your soul, that's where like we really can get off track. And it's where I was off track for years and years and years. I still get off track momentarily these days, but the more that I can tune into my feelings, if I'm feeling like rubbish, I know that my ego mind is judging me in some way, shape or form. So from this inner critic, like I said, there's this ideal self formed, and none of it is the real you. The real you is the essence of you that you were, that you came into in this life, in the perfection, in the wholeness, in the completeness of who you are. You're not broken. That's all of that is story in the ego mind. And even though we can go through quite traumatic events in life, and I'm certainly not making trite of anybody's experiences, I've certainly had a couple of my own, but when we're I guess caught in the story of, and we're judging the experience as bad, or we're judging the experience as wrong, or that, you know, judging somebody else as wrong, it won't help to move you out of that cycle. Because when you're judging that, then we become the victim of the circumstance life is happening to us, as opposed to getting curious and going, wonder why this happened for me. I wonder how I can grow beyond this. I wonder how I might be so lucky to be able to move forward in a different way. And so using a lot of those questions, it's all about the questions that we actually start to use. And some of those might feel like a stretch for you depending on where you're at the moment or what you've been experiencing. And I totally get that. It took me a good couple of years with a couple of my experiences to actually look back and to be able to find the gratitude in those experiences as well. And curiosity is so amazing, isn't it? Hey Bria, great to have you on, hun. Curiosity is just, it really is like, bring playfulness, bring lightheartedness to, wonder why I'm still doing that, or wonder why I haven't done that. And my coach actually took me into a very powerful experience yesterday where I really did feel, I guess, like a sense of powerless around a particular situation. And he actually helped me to realize how I'd chosen that and why I'd actually chosen that at the time. And it was self-protection. And it was like, wow, and it just really frees everything up. And sometimes, you know, we've all got those blind spots. I certainly do. I've done a lot of work on myself over the years, but I definitely still have those blind spots. So the more that I guess we can be open to and curious about what's actually going on or what's happening, it will really, really make a difference as well for us moving forward. So that's I guess my little takeaway for today is, if you are in judgment, so if something is good or bad, right or wrong, or black or white, any of those things, try find the grey in it. And the grey is really just, that curiousness about, well, I wonder, how I might be able to change this, or I wonder why this is actually happening. I wonder what it is that I've got to learn from this situation, and making choices from discernment, as opposed to, well, I don't want to do this particular thing, or I'm bad because I didn't follow through with this particular thing, or any of those kind of, I guess, stories that we can tell ourselves. And it's like, no, I'm actually choosing. When you step into choice and you use the words, even if it maybe feels like, and even things like when we get really overwhelmed with, I guess, if there's household chores, particularly as mums, or there's things that need to happen, it's like, oh my God, I've got too much to do, I have to get all this done. Using the word I have to automatically puts you at a victim, or puts you at a place of, and then the judgment, well, if I don't do it, then I'm a bad mum, or then I'm a bad person, or then I'm untidy, or then I'm unorganized. Like, in that moment, we're still bringing judgment to that. So when it's like, oh, I choose to have a clean house, I choose to be organized, I choose to do these things, then you can make a new choice in every moment. When you're coming from choice, there's always a new choice and a new option to make, if that one's not actually working for you at the time as well. So really just helps with discernment there. Running my Authentic Happiness program this weekend, I am super, super pumped about it, and it really is about giving those tools, giving those skills around being able to create change and deep transformation by understanding our own rules that we have for ourselves, and that we project onto other people as well, and how we can further align our values along with our 6 human needs as well. So super, super powerful stuff. Really excited to be teaching that. You still can get in today at the last second. If you are curious at all, or you just feel really called to find out more about that, definitely PM me, and we can have a quick conversation, make sure it's the right fit for you, and get you in there. It does kick off at 8 a.m. tomorrow. So hey Vanita, great to have you on, hon. So definitely reach out to me today if that's something that you're wanting to do. But otherwise, have fun being curious, and thank you so much, Nancy. I appreciate that, and have a beautiful weekend as well, guys and or girls. And hey Paul, great to have you on. And yeah, if you've just jumped on, jump back to the start and find out how judgment can end up making us the victim, as opposed to coming from that pure place of choice and discernment, and being able to just be in that energy of curiousness and playfulness instead. So have an amazing day, guys. Lots of love to you. Bye.